talk of this town, aren't you?
I don't know, am I?
Are you excited? What are your emotions? You know, this is a new experience.
Not excited at all.
Not
Ready
at all?
to go home. No, I'm pumped. It's hard to show it, right? I think we all wear this suit of armor that you hide your emotions and whatnot. I'm a very emotional guy, but I'm calm. I'm cool, calm, collected, and relaxed. So it's hard for me to show my excitement, but I'm proud of the team. Proud of everybody on the 23 car. Proud of everybody on the 45. Everybody at the shop. For getting both cars in the playoffs. Really, really cool feat for us. We talked about how everything else is kind of a bonus, but we're not locking that in. We're going to go out and race our tails off to produce the best results because we're 16th seed, but we're way better than 16th. So it's just a matter of putting it together for the next 10 weeks, each and every day. So it's gonna mean a lot there at the end.
I listened to you on Dak Shepard's podcast years and years ago.
Yeah.
You talked a lot about your childhood and how you got into racing. What would you tell little Bubba back then? Did you ever think that you would be here at this point in your career?
Yeah, I don't even know. I think looking back, when I was that young, I never thought I'd be here talking to you guys about making the playoffs and making a run. But I didn't look that far ahead. I just asked, how do you approach these next 10? Is it 3 weeks at a time? For me, I got the off day tomorrow. Go play a little golf, maybe. But I look at it as day by day. We got practice and qualifying coming up. That's the first thing on the list. Let's get through the race at Darlington, see where we stack up, see where we need to be better, carry that momentum into Kansas. So it's as I can look at it right here talking to you guys, but the mental side of things is focused on Saturday.
How beneficial is staying present, and have you felt like that's kind of shifted your mindset and your game?
Yeah, if you go back and listen to a lot of our in-car audio, Booty is always talking about keeping your name in the hat. They're continuing to talk about you, so it's good. It's good to be talked about. We just have to put some results with those efforts, and we'll be good.
How do you get with Tyler and Denny and work out a plan to push through all of these races? But on the flip side, when push comes to shove, how do you race with those guys?
They're competitors. We all know that we're competing against each other and that we're going out, but we don't want to do anything that'll jeopardize, both of our days, tore up race cars, because it's not helping anything. So we go out and race each other with a lot of respect, but understanding that if the 45 is faster at certain parts throughout the race, there's no need to race. Let's just go up there and try to produce the best results, because at the end of the day, he is fighting for owner's championship too. So unfortunately, we are not. But yeah, I think you just go out and race how you're supposed to race and be good.
Do you have a little extra boost in your step because of your Kansas performance last fall?
Absolutely. You continue to ride that momentum train for sure. The way we were able to dominate that race and the way we ran Kansas in the spring, we finished 4th. So a lot of confidence rolling into Kansas.
How excited was Michael Jordan?
He was pumped. He's pumped. I think he's proud of everybody on the team. Like I said, everybody making the playoffs, having both cars represent. All of our partners, super cool. Toyota's played a big factor in getting our team going. So it's really, really special for everybody.
Kevin, we're down to the last 10 races of your career.
Mm-hmm.
How do you look back on that and set yourself up for this final run into a championship bid?
Yeah, well, I think they're definitely two different scenarios. I think for me, from a mental standpoint, I think when you look back and you look at all the things that we've been fortunate to accomplish and be a part of and go through, it's definitely something that, as I've learned going through the year this year, to be proud of and been very fortunate to have been successful in our sport and win a lot of races and meet a lot of great people and have a lot of unique moments. And so, you take that part out. That part's been fun to be a part of this year. I think as you look at the last 10, you want to just do all you can do to keep yourself in contention, and that happens 1 week at a time, unfortunately. So you just take it 1 week at a time and go from there.
No matter what happens at the end of Phoenix, do you look back on this year as a final year and go, that was perfect? Win, lose, or draw?
It's very unique for me because when we run good or run bad, there's the next week always winds up being positive, right? Because you go into this, you go from one venue to the next venue, and it's usually something reflecting on something positive from years past, or something that's happened at that particular racetrack, or whatever the case might be. It's kind of gone from one celebration to the next, from venue to venue. So I think that the way that it has all worked out with the fans being able to plan for it before the season started, and all the stories that we've been able to tell throughout the year, and the job that the Stewart-Haas team has done with all the videos and pictures and helmets and paint schemes, and it's been really well put together. Yeah. And I think it's unique because you've got a race season that's also a celebration. And I think for me, in years past, you would never let your guard down and let something like this happen, but it's been a lot of fun to be a part of and tell old stories, and be just be happy about the success that you've had throughout the years, and just go with it.
What do you and Rodney need to do to pull a rabbit out of a hat, though, and push through these rounds and get to that Phoenix race in contention?
Yeah, well, I think really that's what we've done all year. So, if you look at if you put any merit in the point standings, I mean, we've led the point standings. We've stayed in the top 5 for a lot of the season, and I think that's really what our strength is as a group, is to be able to grind away and just take those moments one moment at a time, and try to make as few mistakes as possible, knowing that you don't have a lot of room for error, as far as the mistakes go with the speed of your car and everything that goes with it. So we just got to dot the I's and cross a lot of T's.
Perfect.
Has there been anything that surprised you about this farewell tour, or anything that maybe, I know you can't expect it because you haven't done it yet, but anything that stood out to you?
Yeah, I think for me, it's the surprise has really just been just enjoying it. Yeah, I think for me, it's always been, say as little as possible. Don't let anybody too far in to your circle that you don't know, that's not there with you on a week-to-week basis. In order to fight with you, you want to let as few people in as possible. So, I think this year has been about, let's hear it all. Let's enjoy it. Let's make sure that we're having fun. Go out and compete and do the things that we do normally, and be able to separate that and be able to take it all in. So that part has been fun. I haven't left anywhere and said, man, I don't know if I'm making the right decision. And I think that's how you know when it's the right time and you made a lot of good decisions is when you get to the end of something and you're happy about the decisions that you made.
Sure. Good luck, Kevin.
Thank you.
You gonna miss this?
No.
As you look at the year you've had, what do you have to do now in these last 10 races to build momentum back for you, or have you felt it building already?
I think our whole season has been, really good momentum for us. Where we set the bar last year with this car was really low, and so every racetrack we've gone to, I feel like we've improved, with car handling, driver, you name it. I feel like we've improved in a lot of areas. And so I think the momentum's where it needs to be. I feel strong going into these playoffs. We have really good, a really good game plan going into these last 10. Focused on, the first 3 races is important, but we're focused on all of them because we want to finish as high as we can in points. And, just because you get knocked out in the first round doesn't mean you can't, finish 5th in points. So, for us, we have a game plan of what we need to do and where we need to finish each week to give us that best opportunity.
Knowing your super speedway prowess, as we'll call it, how do you get to Talladega still in the mix and then try to pull one off there?
Yeah, man, I love the first round of the playoffs. Darlington, Kansas, and Bristol are. If I could handpick some tracks for the playoffs, those would definitely be in there. So I feel good about that. We're just going to go and do our deal at those racetracks, and if it shakes out that we're in that next round and still in the playoffs, obviously Talladega's there, and we'll have to figure out how we want to race that. Probably depending on where you're in points after Texas, but that'd be cool to get to Talladega, and it's still in the playoffs would be special.
You said you loved the first 3 races. races of this series, but you focus on all of them. Last one of the year is Martinsville before the championship. Speak on going to that short track, the half mile, and what challenges it poses for you.
Martinsville's been a challenge. Martinsville's been a challenge for myself and us as a team for a while. I felt like we learned some things throughout this year. We learned some things in that race earlier in the year that put ourselves, in a good position. We finished 7th, and that was by far my best finish at Martinsville. So I think that put me at 3 top 10s finally there. But we learned a lot throughout that race, and so looking forward to going back there to see if we found a little bit more speed throughout the season, so that we can maybe contend for a win there. Who knows?
Would you say that's the most difficult of the short tracks in the playoffs?
For me, it is by far. Some people really excel there and really love it, but I am not one of them.
Is this surreal that you're here in the playoffs? I mean, obviously you won the Daytona 500 a couple years ago, and you did it that year, but what does this feel like to you?
It's cool. It's fun. We're taking it in. It's a cool moment. So I don't want to say that I expected it, because you never expect it, but you always are striving towards it and have the hopes of it. And so, but the reality of wanting it and doing it are two different things. So I'm super proud to be here and be a part of the playoffs, and proud of our race team and how far we've come. So we're enjoying the moment.
How deep a run can you make into this? Can you get past this first round legitimately in your head with the tracks that you're going to?
For sure, yeah.
What did it take?
Yeah, I mean, just honestly, it's not going to take much. It's going to take us just doing our jobs and not making any mistakes and executing. We've had good speed at Darlington. We've had good speed at Bristol. We've had good speed at Kansas. It's not super far-fetched for us to be able to point our way through this first round. But it is going to take execution, not making any mistakes and being on it. But I don't think we're going to have to overextend ourselves to do it.
That win did a lot for your team. I heard talk of being able to buy new equipment and do things, internally. But really, what does the win like that and then being in the playoffs do for a small team like Front Row?
Oh, it helps a tremendous amount, not just with momentum and confidence and all that, but resources and ability to get things and the way the sport works, it's driven by results, right? And so the better you run, the more you make as an organization, the more support you get, and so it moves the needle for sure.
You have the biggest smile of anyone that we've talked to.
Yeah.
Looking back at this season, was there a moment of adversity or a challenge that has made you even more thankful to be here today, or kind of soak it all in?
I would say it was before the season started. Last year I had a really solid year. We didn't make the playoffs, but we had 12 top 10s. Really, we're building something, and literally lost every single one of my guys on the race team and had to start over. And so that was one of those moments where things were going good, going in a good direction, and just a gut shot to have to start over. And so this year is extra special because of that. Like, I'm really proud of the group that we assembled, the group that we put together. To be able to put that group together and in the first year do what we've been able to do, I think is a testament to just all the hard work that everybody's put in. But that definitely makes it special.
You believe everything happens for a reason, I guess, right?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
What is it like when you get to this part of the season? Is it a big change of focus for you to go into the last 10 races in the playoffs versus the rest of the season when you're just trying to get here?
Yeah, I think your kind of goals shift, a little bit, and a little bit different change in pace and how you approach, each race, and trying to take it one race at a time, but also thinking about the big picture, right, and how you set yourself up for that final round. So, yeah, a little bit of a change, but at the same time, same goal, but pressure's ramped up a little bit, and mistakes cost you a little bit more than in the regular season.
You talked about trying to figure out what to do in the different races. How do you set up yourself with input to the crew chief on what you're going to do on tracks that you're maybe a little weaker at or the car is a little weaker at? How do you work through that process in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, it's all situational, right? You get pretty good at how do you adapt to, however the race is going, right? What do you need to work on? And I think we've done a pretty good job this year of doing that, of changing up, adapting to whatever your car is doing or what the situation is on the track, and how do you overcome it, and how do you improvise? I think we've done a good job of executing that. So hopefully you can continue to do that when it really counts.
Do you feel like you're on a momentum uphill roll, or are you even right now? What do you need to do to carry momentum?
Yeah, I don't know. I think starting your playoffs right at Darlington is huge momentum, right? You don't want to go out and have a bad race at Darlington and kind of get started off on the wrong foot and be behind the 8 ball. So Darlington is huge to have a mistake-free night. For whatever reason, you see a lot of people have issues, at Darlington, whether it's first race of playoff, it's Southern 500, it's just no room for error, and it's easy to make mistakes. So just try to have a good night on Sunday and see where we stack up.
How are you feeling after this weekend?
Good. Yeah, still staying.
Right? Do you have a race circled in these next 10 that you kind of look at as a must-win, or maybe need to win to get by?
I think when you get to the round of 8, winning is way more. You're going to need a win, I think, especially you don't have like the bonus points, like a couple of those guys have. So hopefully you're able to get there to the round of 8, and then you see just what your competition's like, who's still in it. But ideally, the perfect playoffs would be win the first race of each round and win the championship, right? So, that'd be ideal if I had to choose my ideal playoffs, but a lot easier said than done. But all the races are important, but I think it's important to kind of keep the big picture of the whole round and not get so caught up in one race, because you can kind of lose sight of the bigger picture when that happens.
Just speak to Martinsville, the very last race of the season, cutoff race, and how difficult of a track it is to have, especially at the end of the year.
Yeah, it's tough. I think they've done a good job when they moved that race on the schedule to be the cutoff race of the round of 8. It makes for a really exciting race. That race is already exciting, and when you do it there in the playoffs, it even makes it more exciting. So I love Martinsville. That race is fantastic, and I wouldn't want to be having to have a big night at Martinsville to get into Phoenix. You already like to be in there, but that is a great event to make it exciting for everybody.
It used to be a race with so many cautions. I've always been curious, do you guys drive it a little more conservatively now, considering the cars that you're in, or what do you think kind of limits the cautions?
I think the biggest factor is it's hard to get close to each other. We've kind of talked about the aero stuff at short tracks being a little off, just hard to get close to somebody, and it's kind of the same thing in Martinsville. It's been really tough to kind of get up to someone's bumper, and if you have to move them out of the way, or like side-by-side racing, it's just hard to get there. So I think that's what comes from the lack of cautions, right? Like, you're not going to have anybody, especially nowadays with these cars, like no one's going to spin out on their own. It's hard to do there. There's not a lot of brake fade at Martinsville anymore. The brakes are massive. So you don't have to conserve your brakes anymore. You don't have wheel hop anymore getting in the corner. You see guys wheel hop sometimes. So just multiple things, but I think just the cars, being a little bit aerodynamically inefficient when it comes to those tracks, it kind of hurts that a little bit. So hopefully we can figure that out and get it a little better.
All right, I think we're the soap section of the car wash here.
Okay, yeah. That was the rinse.
Yeah.
Soap.
That was pre-wash.
The scrub over there.
Scrub.
Pre-wash,
Yeah.
scrub. Dry.
Man. This is old hat to you. You're in the playoffs. I don't think you've missed the playoffs. I wouldn't remember when. What do you do different to make sure that you can just keep on keeping on and then get to that final race?
Yeah, I think that part kind of helps, is that I've been through it so many times. It's such a kind of feels normal, right? You get to this point of the year, you've been preparing all year long to be in the playoffs for this next 10 weeks, to be your best 10 weeks. And you fire away like you know how to, right? We've been here plenty of times. We have a plan for how we get through each round, and we go execute the plan.
This is a dumb question, but it came into my head as you were answering that one. Does this ever get old to you?
Like being in the playoffs or
Being in
racing
the
for
playoffs,
championships?
going through the motions of the things you have to do, all of the extra stuff as a playoff driver that you're faced with.
Much better than not being in the playoffs. I promise you that. I'd much rather do all the work and have that pressure on you than be able to just sit around and not be in the storylines of racing for a championship. So yeah, I don't think you can say that this ever gets old.
You're probably mid-career. How do you look at a guy like Truex and Harvick and Kyle Busch as competition, and then compare that to these younger kids that are also in the playoffs with you?
Right. Well, I don't know if I got another 15 years in me, for real. I'm 15 years in already here, so. But I do think, I'm kind of in the middle of what's going on around there, maybe more on the upper end at this point. So, yeah, it's interesting, right? Like when I came into the sport, I was the young guy, and now I've kind of progressed to the middle as other drivers are retiring and those type of things. You see younger guys come in, and it's kind of cool as you go through the playoffs knowing that, you have that upper hand on the younger guys that I never had, right? Like when I first started, you got to kind of earn that experience and earn that, how to execute and how to handle the pressure and how to help your team handle that pressure. Something that you have to earn and go through a lot to get that. So it's nice to have that now.
Where's the one track you cannot let your guard down?
Any of them. There's not one point in this 10 weeks you can let your guard down. No. Nope.
You said you have a plan for every round. Is there a win when you need to race to be able to advance? What's on the plan?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the first round, you got to get, and really any round, the first race sets the tone for the next two. If you're able to have a solid race, score 35-ish points, that puts you in a pretty good spot to be methodical through the next two and not be too crazy. If you have a bad one, then your back's up against the wall and you have to be a little bit more risky and those type of things. So really the whole tone is set off the first race, especially the first two rounds. You get to the third round, when round of 8, you pretty much got to win at that point. So you're firing away with all you got, or you got to top 5 it out. So really pretty much win would be the goal on that one. Obviously, we know the final round, what you got to do there.
You don't want to wait till Martinsville to win, right?
I'd rather not. I'd rather not. I'd rather win the first race in the third round. That's worked out pretty good for us a couple times.
Would you have believed a year ago at this point that you could really be a championship contender first year out in that car? Was it that strong in your head, I can do this? Especially the way it all sort of came together last year anyway.
I knew we were going to get better. I didn't know how. I just didn't know where it was going to start, I guess. But the amount of speed we've had from the get-go, amount of potential, all that stuff's been I've been really impressed by how the team goes about things. I really, really loved every minute of it.
What is the dynamic between you and Bubba and Denny, all three being in the playoffs? How will y'all work together, or how will y'all compete against each other when push comes to shove?
Me and Bubba have serious moments where we'll really dive into, what's ahead for the weekend, or post practice debrief, whatever. But most of the time we're pretty sarcastic with one another. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, three of us never really get together too often. Normally it's just kind of one-on-one talking to each other. But between Denny, Bubba, I've been able to ask Martin Truex about things, been able to ask Christopher about things, and Ty's been very forward with a lot of information that's helped me as well.
When you look at these next 3 races, which one do you feel like you have the best likelihood of winning, or is there one that you have circled?
I'll put it this way. The one I want to win the most is the one I'm going to put at the top of the list, and that's Southern 500. That's the race that every driver that knows the history of the sport knows how hard that race is to win. So I'd love to do it there.
It's the first one. How much momentum does that give you to just kind of knock it out? You already know.
Yeah, give you 2 weeks off, right? Take a little vacation and reset for a round of 12. It'd be nice.
Jumping ahead to the very last race, I cover Martinsville. What difficulty does that track pose? But also, what advantages have you found racing there the last couple years?
With the Gen 6 car, I kind of got pretty good at the long runs there. And then with this car, I struggled there last year with RCR. So going into this race earlier in the year, we had a lot of speed and we ran up front most of the day. Unfortunately, it just kind of fell apart at the very, very end. We dropped like a rock. But knowing that we were as good as we were and we could make things better, definitely, I feel like people going to Martinsville just kind of uncertain of what the race will hold. And when I look at Martinsville, like I do a lot of these tracks, I know that the capability of the car is going to be there when we arrive.
Coming back to the next couple of races. Kansas, your team with Kurt and Bubba picked up the win there both times last year. How much enthusiasm do you have for that? Where do you put yourself in the lineup there?
I know we're gonna have to beat a Toyota. The other Toyotas really got a lot better this spring. Martin and Denny were really running away from me in the beginning of the race, and I mean, I'd say a lot of them were better than I was that first race earlier in the year. So we'll just try and have our approach be a little bit better when we go back. But I know that we'll be really solid when we get there. Honestly, work's already begun on that one too.
It's a car wash, man. It's a car wash.
Why do they call it a car wash? Is that you just asked the same thing?
Yeah, no, I didn't, but it's a great question. I've asked that before.
Because it's stationed?
I guess because you're moving down a line and
Well, why
different
do they
sort
call it an
of.
assembly line?
But there you go.
You just assumed his automotive?
Oh,
Oh, yes.
Brad identifies as donuts.
I like donuts.
I'm going to ask that question first. Were you surprised that got so much attention when you had to do your little donuts, turn up to cool down the car?
You just never know nowadays what people are going to find interesting and compelling. So, I just honestly, I don't even think about it. I just do my thing, and if people like it, great. If they don't like it.
All right. First championship question I'll ask then. How exciting for you and Chris Buescher to be doing what you're doing. You haven't owned this team now for the second year, and it's just like, wow, everybody thinks. I think you probably think wow, too.
It's been a big few weeks for us this winter in NASCAR playoffs at RFK. We've got two really good cars with Chris Buescher in the 17 and my car with the 6 car, and we're really excited to see what we can do. Now that the money's on the line, right, once the playoffs begin. So it's time for us to go execute. But, I think we're certainly on a good upward trend with some strong momentum.
How does the wins and the being in the playoffs really help both emotionally and strategically, but financially as a team owner? You got to think about that, and it's a boost, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. You need to be successful. There's no middle class in NASCAR. You're either a winner or you're a loser, and we want to be at the top. And so the last few weeks have really been so healthy for us.
Yeah. What do you think about that Chris Buescher? When did he sort of clicked like you did back in the day? When you won your first race, it was almost like it was on.
Yeah. I think for Chris, he's surrounded by great people. He's got great equipment. He's putting in the work. He's got the talent. It's his time.
What do you do to push yourself through the playoffs?
Well, I think you recognize that the opportunity is in front of you. It's your chance to capitalize, and you just want to make the most of that. And I think there's not one particular thing that we do, but I think there's a lot of things, and you just want to seize the opportunity.
Was there a point this season where you felt like you were really turning the corner and you thought, I can get in here and I can win it?
I think we've had an incredibly strong late summer. With both of our cars, with Chris Buescher and my car with the 6 car. And, I think we're at that point where we feel like we've turned a corner and we've got a shot to win week in and week out, and it's a great feeling.
I'm just going to have you speak on Martinsville a little bit. Last race of the year and arguably maybe the hardest track.
Yeah, Martinsville is one of our favorite tracks to go to. We almost won it last fall, and that was super cool, and been fortunate enough to win there twice. Third would be great, and it means a lot for us.
Oh. Was that lunch?
It was. I'm going to get sleepy.
Lunch might be the best meal of the day to me. Like right in the middle. It's like, oh, yeah, man.
Yep.
You good?
Yeah, I'm like, Ross, if you eat lunch too late into the afternoon, your day's over. Why even go back to work? You're just tired.
I'm sleepy now.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
You want to go first?
I cover Martinsville. Your favorite place, probably. They dedicated that whole wall to you.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you don't want to try to pull something like that so late into the playoffs. How do you kind of attack this next 10 races or even this first round so you don't end up in that position at the very last race?
Yeah, score more points. I mean, we needed 2 more, on that last lap. So it's really easy to look back at where you could have scraped up 2 points throughout any point of the season and transferred it through to Martinsville. Let's just pick up a few more.
Do you have a race circled in the next couple weeks that you look at as a must-win, even to get those few couple points?
Not really. I just look at the next one, and it's Darlington, which just so happens to be one of my favorites. I just love driving down to Darlington. I love everything about that track, and that's what kicks off our playoffs. So it's a great one.
Bubba, Bubba kind of said the same thing. He's not looking too far ahead. He's trying to stay present. Is that something you like to do? Just take it one day at a time, one race at a time, or would you, lay it all out and write everything down and have the whole plan for the next 10 weeks?
Not at all. It might look like it, or people might wrongly assume it, but I don't have a plan to all this. There's nothing to plan other than go to Darlington, try to qualify the best we can, race the best we can, get as many points, try to go for a Southern 500 victory. Then it's on to Kansas.
Your claim to fame, not the wall ride last year, but being a watermelon farmer. How much are you still involved in a lot of that? But then how do you focus yourself to stay sharp on what we have to do on this side in the sport to really do what it takes to win these races or compete for a championship?
I'm not a full-time or part-time watermelon farmer. My role in the industry is to promote watermelons and to promote agriculture.
Gotcha.
My full-time job and only job is to race cars and to be the best race car driver I can be. So when it comes to ag and farming, I know the farmers and I can answer fans' questions across this country and everything else across our schedule. It's not that I'm going out and driving a tractor on Tuesday and then driving the Cup car on Sunday.
What do you look at with this field of drivers that's in this championship? There's guys that have been in the championship multiple years. There's guys that's won a couple of championships. There's first-timers in this, and this being your second time in the championship playoffs. What does it say about NASCAR to have that group, that kind of group of people competing for the series championship?
Well, I've got, just to my left and right, I've got a hero of mine in Kevin Harvick to my right, and a good buddy, Ryan Blaney, and I guess just another racer with Chris Buescher. It's pretty incredible that I get to stand here with them and compete against them, from guys that I've just been friends with and been teammates with to heroes of mine on the track, and now I'm getting to just get to know them and race against them. So, we're a diverse bunch, and it's really cool to be part of it.
Do you have to step yourself to a next level in this part of the season, or do you think it's better to stay even keel and do what you did all year long to find your success this part of the season?
I can't drive any harder, so I can't shift into sixth gear, right? All right, the Hail Melon, I shifted into fifth gear and did the crazy move. But when in all normalcy, no. It's continue down our processes, continue with our evolution. It's coming naturally to Trackhouse and our cars and my driving. And one race at a time, one stage at a time, one lap at a time, and just plug along and see where we shake out.
Has the Hail Melon stuff still through this year been a game changer in the way you perceive or other people perceive you in the industry? Has it just kept on lingering? Does it come up every single day nearly?
More often than not every day, but more often than not. And I accepted that the night of it.
Yeah.
We stopped at Waffle House just south of Martinsville on the way back to Charlotte, and my family and we ate, and I told my dad that night I was going to talk about this for the rest of my life, and I'm good with that. It's a really cool thing to talk about.
That's very good, very good. All right.
Yeah, me
Good.
too. I tell everyone I saw it with my own eyes.
Yep.
Yep.
I was there.
Perfect. All right. As one of the younger playoff contenders, how do you lean on guys like Truex and Denny Hamlin to give you a little backdoor knowledge of what to do in these situations?
I think the knowledge from those two is definitely that ship has sailed. We're all competing against each other now, and they're two of the best in the business, so they're certainly going to be hard to beat. But they're great teammates, and I'm very fortunate to have them on my team.
What was the moment where you thought, all right, we've got a shot at this championship? Obviously, you win and you're in, but
yeah.
When do you start thinking legitimately about, all right, how do we approach the playoffs?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's too early to even talk about championship hopes. You're still focused on just executing 3 races at a time, and we're starting off at one of the toughest races on the schedule. The Southern 500 at Darlington is incredibly long, and it's a place that you can get yourself in trouble very easily. So I'm excited about getting it started, and we started off on a good note last year. Hopefully we can do the same this year.
Go for it.
Looking at the next 10, is there one that you have circled that?
Bristol.
Bristol. Okay, speak
Love
on
me
that.
some Bristol. Yeah, it's and now with having the dirt race the last couple of years, we only go to Bristol and race on the concrete once, so it makes it that much more special. The night race there is it's always been my favorite of the season.
It's sad to hear you didn't say Martinsville.
Yeah. Bristol's my favorite.
Okay, well, what's the drama with Martinsville? Even though you've won there, I know it's a difficult track, but you're a winner. Does that kind of help when it's the last race of the season and you're trying to be in that top 4?
Yeah, Martinsville is a very important race for sure, and winning, there gives me confidence to know that we can go and do it again. But I don't know, it hasn't been my favorite track, and it's been a little bit of a struggle point until I won last year. So, yeah, it's a tough race. It's a tough race for sure.
A lot of Kyle Larson wins this season, specifically at Martinsville in April, and then again at North Wilkesboro. What about that track and short track racing makes it for a really fun final race before the championship?
Yeah, I think Martinsville is a great track to have the final cutoff race before the championship, just because you can kind of make your own fate there a little bit and get aggressive if you need to be. So yeah, I think typically I wouldn't like Martinsville as the cutoff because I've never been good there, but we were able to win there earlier this year. So, and we've been really good on the short tracks this year. So yeah, hopefully we make it to that round, and we'd love to have a win before we get to Martinsville. But if not, I think we can do good.
I remember you saying that in April, that you weren't a big fan of Martinsville, weren't a big fan of short tracks, but it's kind of been your thing this season. What has worked for you, and how good is carrying that momentum into Darlington, coming up?
Yeah, I don't know what it's been about short tracks this year. Short tracks are really my worst kind of style of track, I feel like. But this year, every win we've had has been on a short track. Richmond, Martinsville, North Wilkesboro. So I think our race cars have just been really good on the short tracks, which makes me look good. But yeah, I don't know. It's but I do also think that the intermediate style tracks that a lot of really this first round really suits us. Darlington, Kansas, and then short track of Bristol. But race is so fast that it feels like an intermediate to me. But yeah, those tracks kind of suit us really well as well.
Obviously, you'd like to have all 4 Hendrick cars in the championships and the playoffs with you and William, but how much can you then now lean on Chase and Alex? Good Lord, it wouldn't come into my mind. How much do you lean on them for any extra information that they can pull since they don't have as much pressure in the playoffs?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's some things that they can kind of R&D throughout the playoffs. I'm not really sure, but we all communicate really well as it is, so I don't think that'll change. But yeah, it was unfortunate to not have all 4 in. I mean, Chase is basically in with the owner points, so he'll be racing really aggressive to do the best job for his team and make the most money that he can for him and his team. So it's good to have him a part of that. But yeah, I think I look forward to getting the playoffs started. I think William and I both have a good shot at getting the owner and driver's title, but it's going to be tough.
You're relatively low-key. You're not much on hype and woohoo, but how much inside of you really is like, I've got to do this year again?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously we all want to win. Every one of these drivers in the playoffs want to win just as much as anybody else does. So I would love to be able to win my second, but I don't also want to get too far ahead of myself. And I understand, having gone through it now for so long and ultimately won the championship a couple years ago, I understand how difficult it is to do it. So just try to take it week by week, and you have confidence for sure. I have confidence in my race team. So just got to do a good job executing.
When you look at the makeup of your competitors in this playoffs, is it crazy that the age ranges, the different backgrounds, what does that say about NASCAR?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's there's been a lot of kind of diversity, I guess you can say, within people's backgrounds and ages, like you mentioned, in our sport for quite a while now. So I think you throw the next-gen car in the mix with that too. It just kind of showcases all that diversity even more. So yeah, we'll see. It's fun. The schedule is really good. The competitors are aggressive. So it's been great racing.
Perfect. Kyle, if I would have asked you 1 year ago today, if you thought 1 year ago from now you'd be in the playoffs in an RCR car, what would you have thought? And then taking that, how deep can you make a run in this playoffs? What do you need to do?
Yeah, no, this time last year I expected to be a playoff guy no matter what, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I would have thought that we would have on the year you want to have 5 wins, you know, you got to have a win to get into the playoffs. So I figure we're right where we need to be. You know, we got to finish out the year with 2 more wins through the playoffs, and that'll be perfect, especially one at Phoenix, you know. So, yeah, this year's been pretty good. If you give it a grade, I'd say we're an A, but with the finishes and all things considered, everything kind of lined in there, you know, with the results that are fact, you know, B-. So we're right there. We just got to clean up our act and, you know, not have as many mistakes right now.
How did the races that are left, these 10 races, play out for you as far as your strengths and weaknesses? And what did you leave on the table in the first part of the year that you can pick up on now?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of strengths in this remaining races for us because, you know, we're going to some places for the second time over again, which I think anytime I'm able to give feedback and dialogue and talk about a car, make it better, that's better for me. But every place that we've been to this year that we've won is, you know, well, not every place, but Gateway is only a single event race for the year. Fontana is only a single event race for the year. So there's some others that are coming on the schedule that we're still only going to for the first time this year. That could be an outlier for us that we know that we can run well too. So just excited about it. You know, the mile-and-a-half program's been good, which is Darlington and Kansas right out of the gate. And who doesn't love Kyle Busch at Bristol?
When you look at the list of tracks left, where do you see a win coming for you? You kind of spoke on it, but I mean, maybe more specifically, I know you said mile-and-a-half.
Yeah, I would love Darlington this weekend. That would be fantastic. And then, of course, Bristol as well, too. I love Bristol. That's one of my favorite places. But, you know, if you're going to be greedy and you're going to pick, you want to win a race in every round, so then you're automatically through each time and you're into the Final Four. So that's not quite as easy said as done.
How do you feel about Martinsville? You listed the short tracks except for that one.
Short tracks have kind of been to our detriment this year, so unfortunately I wouldn't say that those are our favorite to get ready to go for, but I will say we made a lot of gains and some big strides when we went to Richmond. We ran third, had a good run with, you know, new ideas, new philosophies that really helped us there.
Well, congrats.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Quite the season.
It's been a whirlwind.
Has there been a moment where you felt like you guys were turning the corner and you were like, yeah, we got a good chance of making it far?
Last year, honestly, came on last year and about halfway through the season, felt like we certainly made some big changes, some big momentum on our side. You know, got that win in Bristol. You know, once the playoffs already started and we weren't participating, but certainly felt like we'd be able to carry that into this season. So, if you look at our year as a whole, our consistency has been second to only one, I believe. I believe just the Truex. You know, we've obviously been able to win a couple of races here lately, which has been fantastic, but we've been strong at a lot of different styles of races. So I felt strong about this year before we ever started. We just have some pretty obvious results as of late to be able to show.
Consistent is exactly how I would describe it as well. When you look at these next 10 races, what do you have circled and how do you maintain that consistency to continue to move through the rounds?
Yeah, I think you think about Bristol, you think about the Roval, think about Texas, tracks that were very strong at last year, similar tracks to where we've been strong this year. I would say there's really no bad tracks in there for us either, though. That's probably the bigger part is I don't feel like there's any that we're just dreading. You know, felt like it's hard to look at it and have 1 out of 3 feel like there's no opportunity for you. And I don't feel like we have that. So I'm really excited about what we have ahead of us, and I feel like I'm really confident that we're going to be able to make a big splash through the playoffs here.
When are you going to let the boss man win a race?
He's going to win a race, I promise. Yeah, and we're not going to have to let him do it either. He, you know, obviously the Daytona win was a teammate win. That was not just us by any stretch of the imagination. So I think about the races that we have won. He's been very good at as well, and been very strong at a lot of places through the year, both of our cars, and the consistency's been there. You know, talk about ours being very consistent. Theirs has been also. So I think that just that slightest little bit away from being able to get both cars wins on the season, and I certainly feel like with the race we have coming up and some of Brad's strengths, I believe you'll see it before the end of the year.
How do you keep yourself from being overwhelmed, or how to stop from overthinking every little detail in this part of the season that other than doing it just the same way you've done it all year long?
might not one to overthink. I don't think a whole lot in the first place, so just kind of go with it. But I pretty easy for me to say that I know what we've done this season, what's worked for us, and we don't need to change that or fool ourselves, right? If we keep doing what we've been, if we keep being competitive, keep winning races, the rest of it will come with that. Keep making smart decisions at the right times, trying to stay out of trouble when we can. That's all you can do. Just because we're in the playoffs now doesn't change our efforts. It doesn't change our focuses. I think for us, we just have to stick with what we know and what we've been able to accomplish and build off of that.
There's a couple of really good drivers, your boss man Brad included, Martin Truex Jr. When they won their first and second Cup Series race, like you've done this year, and I know you had a win before this year. You have 4 total wins, right? Or was this 5?
Yeah, I had that Pocono win way back.
But getting that, like this year, the win, by domination, so to speak, something must click because Brad starts winning. Back in the day, Truex starts winning. Do you think you're getting to that point? Is there a confidence level you've picked up after these 3 wins that you go, oh, wow? And not like, oh, this is easy, but just something, does it feel different?
I mean, it's certainly our team's been making big strides in the right direction. And there's a confidence thing, right? If you hit on it and you know that what we're capable of and know that if we execute at the highest level that we can win these things, it's not just me, right? It's our whole team. It's our whole organization having that confidence behind them and going to the track and having that little extra bounce in their steps. So, I don't think we're done. I feel like we've built up to this. It's not some fleeting thing that could take off or slip away at any moment. We have worked hard for this. We're going to continue to work hard to keep it and keep improving upon it.
How important is it to have big confidence in the boys back at the shop that build those cars, that set those cars up and do the things they do?
Yeah, I mean, I've always had that faith in our group and that confidence because we've got good people. We've got a strong organization, worked alongside tons of them back when I did work in the shop, and I know what we're capable of. I've seen it in the past at Roush, and so proud of what RFK's been able to do as an organization here as of late. So, I mean, it's got to have all the confidence in the world when you fire off, first lap on a racetrack, Daytona, for instance, as your qualifying lap, and try and go 190-something miles an hour, right? So we have that confidence in our group and know that we're going to be a contender here.
Did you consider this your best chance at winning a playoff this year, or winning the championship this year? That's what I meant to add.
I do. I mean, I think that there's been, I would say 2010 was probably, it seems like ages ago for all of us, but that was a dominant year for us, and we had superior cars. I just felt like every week we just dominated. It's a little different now in the next gen era. The competition's a little tighter. There's less room for error. But as far as performance, week in, week out, I would say absolutely this is the best shot. I think that I went into the playoffs the past 2 seasons knowing that our cars were not going to be fast enough either on road courses or on short tracks. And that's the path to the Final Four is through that. And so we were very fortunate to make it into the Final Four, but knew when we got off the plane for Phoenix, we were going to need things to fall our way perfectly to win.
I asked Martin this. He's, at the peak of his career and the end of his career. And you're one of the older drivers also. How do you stay sharp physically, mentally, and with all of the distractions you have of also owning a race team? How do you keep it all together? And
it's hard. I mean, I just find a way to compartmentalize everything and know that when I'm in this mode, that's the only mode I'm in. I'm not focused on anything else. When I've got to put in simulation time, I do it. And I'm not distracted by anything else. So I know that no matter what and how much I have going on a daily basis or a weekly basis, that when I get in the car on Sunday, I'm more prepared than I've ever been. And there's nothing that will surprise me. I've done my work, and I'm prepared to win on that day.
How do you deal with your drivers and their bid at a championship, Bubba's bid at a championship? How do you work with them through these 10 races?
Well, they're competition right now. I mean, for me, it's different because I have 3 shots to win a championship, honestly, and I would be happy with any one of the results. but obviously myself is the number one priority because I've only got so many more shots at this, right? Eventually, you're not as sharp as you used to be. But I right now feel like I'm at the top of my game, and how I can help them is if I can lock myself early in because I've got a strong run these first couple weeks, and those guys may be on the bubble, I can help them. But right now, it's what can I do to win for the 11?
Jumping far ahead to the last race before the championship, Martinsville, you spoke a lot about how different it is in these cars driving that short track. What challenges being in this car does Martinsville kind of pose, and how would you consider it maybe one of the more difficult short tracks in the series?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think certainly the next gen has changed Martinsville quite a bit, with the shifting that we have, and the competition's just tighter. Last year, just knowing that one little pit stop can take you from making the Final Four or not. It's just, you've got to be on your game. You've got to qualify well. There's just so many factors at Martinsville that, sometimes it's out of your control. But as a driver, you have to focus on what is in your control, and we're going to do that.
What's an advantage to driving there for you and your team?
Well, the advantage is the success that we've had there. Even in the next-gen car, we've been able to have success at Martinsville in all types of different cars. But knowing that we've dominated Martinsville, that led so many laps the last few times that we've been there, tells me that my feel around that racetrack is working no matter what race car, and I'm going to search for it again when we go there in October. So it's one of my favorite tracks, if not my very favorite track. The atmosphere there is just electric. It always is, and it's one of the drivers' favorites for a reason.
Hello. Good, you? Yeah, I mean, not much changes on my end. I think it's just, I feel like it's just more difficult every year, as people have understand the playoffs. Certainly the next-gen car, everything's so much tighter now with the competition. Everybody's so close. The pit stops are all so close. Just everything has been kind of, magnified and more difficult, more important, more competitive across the board. So it's just a bigger challenge. It's harder to just go outrun guys on speed every week. We were able to do that in 2017, and it's just more challenging now to find that because everybody has the same thing. I try to enjoy myself away from the track, stay busy, stay active, take care of myself, but just focus on the things that I, like to focus on in the race car and not change who I am, just be myself. And, I've got a great team and I lean on them a lot for help and to keep me pointed in the right direction. So we have a great group and excited to go to battle with them for 10 weeks.
Get to do it again next year. So in these this year and next year, how good is it to be at the top of your game? And what is going to be close to the end of your career when it's all said and done?
That's what everybody dreams of, right? Is, going out on top, feeling like you made your own decision. You can kind of, write your own book, make your own destiny, whatever you want to call it. So, this sport is really, really tough. There's been times in my career where I wasn't able to make my own decisions. I was kind of always nervous about what was going on. You never know what next year is going to bring. And, the last couple of years have been great to just kind of do it the way I want, enjoy myself, and have, a great team behind me that's confident. And I never questioned that. So it's been a great spot to be in. Hopefully we can keep it going. Great.
Short track racing at the end of October. How do you carry the momentum that you have from the regular season into Martinsville and bring another championship home there?
Well, we certainly hope to go there in a good position, and that's really the whoever wins that race is going to Phoenix. So it's always been a big race. It's always been a high pressure, tough one, and we've been close to it before, and I think this year we ran a lot better at Martinsville than we did last year, and we're getting there. So I'm not sure what we'll have, but I'm excited. I always look forward to that race. It's always a big one and a lot of pressure and a lot of fun.
What do you feel like has gone right this season for you to get as many wins as you have?
Just team doing a great job. I think the off season was good for us, to kind of regroup. And I feel like our team the day after Phoenix was already working on this year, and that's a big part of the reason why we're here. So a lot of hard work, determination by everybody, and my team in particular doing a great job of learning the car last year and taking what we learned and doing the right things this year. So it's been a lot of fun, and just feel like we've been fast every week. We've been fast everywhere we've been, and it's been a lot of fun.
And do you have a track circled in this first round that either gives you a little difficulty or maybe one that you're looking forward to that you ran well earlier this year?
I'm really looking forward to Darlington and Kansas both. I mean, both tracks where we felt like we had a shot to win earlier in the year and they got away from us. So, historically strong racetracks for me and our team, and great 2 races for us to kick the playoffs. Yeah, I think with the points we have now, we just need to be consistent, not beat ourselves. I think, the only way we don't get out of the first round is complete catastrophe. And, the second round obviously gets a little bit tougher, but just try to continue to do what we've done. Be ourselves, get everything we can each week, no mistakes, and, hopefully be up front leading laps and maybe take home a win or 2 before that third round starts. It'd be huge. I mean, it's what we're here for. This is why we do it. This is why I came back this year to turn it around from last year, and it's been fun to be back in this position. So, a lot of hard work paid off, and hopefully we can finish it off.
William, you have had what most drivers would say is a dream year, 5 wins across a bunch of different types of tracks. How do you continue that roll of momentum into the playoffs? What do you think?
Just more of the same, hopefully. I think for us it's just approaching every race as we have so far. We've approached this whole season as like it were a playoff and trying to prepare ourselves for this part of the year. So I feel really good about it. I think we've got some weak tracks that we want to work on, but I think overall we have something that's really competitive.
How much do you interact with your crew chief on figuring out what to do round to round? Which tracks, you need to focus on, Darlington or Kansas or Bristol and into the next round? How do you work that out?
I mean, it's just focus on one track at a time. I think for us it's focusing on how do we make our Darlington setup as good as we can make it. I felt like we worked in the sim all week to make it a couple tenths better than what we had in the spring, because I felt like we were a good car there, but we weren't dominant by any means. So I think we just gotta keep working on those little details to make us a little bit better.
Is this the most confident you felt going into a playoffs in the last couple of years?
Probably. I mean, I think every year in the playoffs I have confidence that I'm with a great race team, that we're capable. It's just really a matter of us executing. So, yeah, I'd say the last 3 years I've felt a similar amount of confidence.
And speak to Martinsville. I know you like that track a little bit. You have a claw.
Yeah. It's been a while though. Martinsville's been tough for us lately. The last 2 races there. So hopefully this one coming up can be better, and we can just have a better, more complete race. So definitely need to work on that place.
It's funny you say it's been a while, because I'm like, wasn't it like 2 springs ago, or was it a fall race? Feels like
yeah, it was like a year and a half ago. So it's been a while.
You want to take the last one?
Yeah, well, coming back to Darlington, I mean, winning that spring race there has to give you pretty a good idea of we're going to be strong and this could be good right off the bat. Does winning whoever wins the first race, but if you win the first race out of the gate, is that really good for your playoff run?
Yeah, I think you just need to approach it one step at a time. Just get through practice, get through qualifying. There's going to be a lot of good cars at that race, so I feel like it's just trying to approach it one step at a time.
It's a dangerous place if you're not careful, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you gotta be on your toes there.
All right, very good.
Thanks guys.
William.
Thank you.